mindfulness programs in the workplace. That's going to be our subject for today. And what we're really looking for is what employers, if any, are implementing this type of tactic for their employees, what industries benefit the most from these types of programs, and would it benefit a multitude of different industries instead of just any single one? And we are going to go out and ask and see what people on the ground are seeing.
My name is Benab Gomez. I am a graduate instructional assistant at Texas State University, and I have a master's degree in psychological research. Because there is a lot more research being done on stress, a lot of companies have began to incorporate mindfulness into the workplace as well, which is an area of life that causes a lot of the stress that we encounter in our lives. So a lot of people and corporations and management are trying to incorporate mindfulness into the workplace as a way to reduce stress. Call center individuals that work in like call centers are probably exposed to a lot of stress just because mainly what they're catering towards is addressing complaints from customers. And so in terms of like burnout and things like that, having more mindfulness into the workplace would probably help reduce the stress that comes with being a call center worker. But also it just depends on the program itself and how well it's designed and how based on research it is. I think mindfulness in general is beneficial in all aspects of life, even outside of the workplace. So in general, incorporating mindfulness should improve individuals' lives and employees' lives. It just kind of depends also on the willingness of the employee, but then that kind of falls into like where the company is in encouraging mindfulness and creating that awareness. I think that in general it's going to be helpful, but there are probably some work environments that are a lot more hostile than others are, and so some individuals probably need the programs more than others.
Can you please state your name?
Dolores De Leon.
What is your job title?
I'm currently an RN.
Thank you so much. And do you know what mindfulness programs are?
Mindfulness programs, I believe, are to be stress relief programs in place for employees to be able to get through the day, to help cope with any kind of stressful situation.
Thank you. Do you participate in mindfulness programs?
No.
No. Okay. Since you don't, how do you deal with stress from work right now?
I talk to my coworkers, or I'll play some music, or after work I'll have a drink.
How does mindfulness fit into your company's culture?
Currently it doesn't. I believe we're currently like too busy trying to take care of patients, that often us as nurses, and I believe, leadership wise, employers usually forget to take care of their own. In the past when I've worked in other companies, we would get like some kind of treat to compensate for like a stressful situations that we've like had to embrace or dealt with, which would be like, let's say, coffee in the morning or donuts or something like that. But as far as anything beyond that, I believe like a lot of companies, or even our company, is like really lacking it.
Well, what kind of tools or support does your company provide to access or implement mindfulness programs?
We usually have what is called a respite room, but it has like a couple chairs, like massage chairs in place. Yet often we don't get to use them. I believe in like the 2.5 years that I've been with the company, I've used it maybe like once or twice. You really don't get much time to like dismiss yourself from the current situation or from your job to actually go and be able to use it. So that's the only place, and it's not within like reach for employees to access it.
Thank you. Which positions would benefit most from these programs?
Definitely high stressful employers or like employments, especially like nursing. We often deal with, you know, providing care for patients, as well as, you know, everything that comes along with it, like combative patients, rude family members, death is a big one. Then on top of that, like our own issues, like our own personal problems. So I would say definitely medical care personnel would benefit from it. Those employees who work in telemarketing would definitely could benefit from it. Just anything in high demand where you really don't have much time for yourself and you have to focus all your attention on other people.
Thank you. Why don't you think your company has implemented mindfulness programs, or to the extent that you wish they had?
Lack of funding, since it is funded by the government. I believe it's like lack of funding often, and maybe this is like true for a lot of like companies. It's that, you know, employees are dispensable. So if you can't cope with the situations, then you can easily just say, hey, we can replace you. So that's one of the reasons. And another reason is maybe lack of education as to like what they can provide for their employees to make or to do a better job at what they're doing, and to help them or assist them with any kind of like stressful situation or any kind of issues that they might be facing within like the job itself.
Thank you. What is the biggest obstacle for companies implementing mindfulness programs?
Budget, believe, is the number one. Budget, and then change, as well as like buying into like the programs, or into like any kind of like mindfulness program that might come out. You know, it might take away funding from other more important thing, or at least like that's how they're presented. So definitely funding and buying into it.
Thank you. Would you as an employee opt for a mindfulness program instead of other benefits such as higher pay?
Not necessarily. Definitely would enjoy the increase in pay, because if my employers can't provide the mindfulness programs that I need, then I can always take care of myself with outside of the company. So I wouldn't quite say that I would agree with taking a pay cut or less of a pay instead of getting like a mindfulness program.
Okay. Thank you, Dolores, for your time.
Can you state your name, please?
Jennifer Gant.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions. Do you know what mindfulness programs are?
I've heard of programs like that.
Okay, if you do know what the mindfulness programs are, then what's your understanding of them?
Well, mindfulness, they have different programs for mindfulness, but my understanding is teaching people to be present in the moment where they are, and having understanding and empathy for whoever's around them, and just being present, not thinking about what happened the day before or what's going to happen later on. It's just being mindful of what you're doing at that moment.
Okay. Do you participate in mindfulness programs at work?
No.
Okay, if no, how do you deal with stress from work right now?
I think being a nurse, everyone deals with stress differently, but we all have our vices. Like, I eat. I eat. Some people, they go smoke. Some people just drink a lot of caffeine. But like, dealing with my stress now is just basically just power through it, hope it gets better.
Okay. How does mindfulness fit into your company's culture?
Well, my company, I guess they expect you to be mindful. Being a nurse, they expect you to be mindful and in a moment, and they just assume that every nurse is being mindful when they're out there, even though we're not. We're a lot of times we're just trying to get through the day.
What kind of tools or support does your company provide to access or implement mindfulness programs?
Well, I don't know that they implement mindfulness programs as much as they try to teach teamwork, and that includes like mindfulness and teaching us how to take care of people and deal with each other as a team, which involves being mindful and present at that time.
Which position would benefit most from these type of programs?
I think the nurses, not so much as leadership. Leadership, they do need to be mindful of what's going on around them and everything, but they also need to be mindful of what's going on somewhere else. But as for on the floor, this would benefit the floor nurses the most.
Should companies invest more into this?
Yeah, they should invest more into this, because I feel like we would feel like it's an investment in us and in our mental health, and we're heard, and they'll pay attention to our problems and what's going on, and then teach us how to deal with it and teach us how to be more mindful while take care of patients.
Why don't you think your company has implemented mindfulness programs?
Just gonna grab that.
I just think they haven't probably thought about it, or maybe they just don't have the time to do it. Or I feel like sometimes some leadership just assumes that's already been done. So no one has ever really asked about it or picked up the ball on that.
What is the biggest obstacle for companies implementing mindfulness programs?
It's buy-in, getting everybody to buy into mindfulness. A lot of people hear the word mindfulness and they think it's kind of like, this spiritual, just like tree hugging and just being present and just kind of overthink it, rather than saying it's just being present and being mentally available. The obstacle would be just people buying into the idea of being mindful and not being negative, or not feeling like so many other things are going on wrong, and you're trying to teach us how to be mindful when you should be trying to fix problems. So that will be the obstacle.
Okay. Would you, as an employee, opt for a mindfulness program instead of other benefits such as a higher pay?
I don't know that I would opt for a program over better pay. I think that would be, if given the choice, that would be an obstacle to a lot of people, because of course they're gonna say better pay, but I think it could be a balance. I think they can include mindfulness in just a lot of different areas, like in the huddles or just staff development days, but I don't think taking it over the pay would be a good idea, because that would be an obstacle, especially for nurses, especially during this time.
All right, thank you.
So we've had the chance to speak with 3 individuals, one of which was a subject matter expert and 2 others were RNs, both working in the burn unit for their respective hospitals. Now, we really wanted to get a wide array of different individuals who work for many different companies. Unfortunately, with the certain circumstances with COVID-19, we weren't able to do that. So we're kind of sticking to the facts directly from our sources. So in a few of our studies, we see that there's not a lot of information about these types of programs being implemented, and there are a few test pilots out there for certain companies and a few universities who implemented the same style and saw benefits coming back. The hardest part about it is really getting the buy-in and being able to show numbers when it's an unquantifiable product. It really, the hardest and most difficult thing to explain to an executive is the unsurmountable amount of benefit there are for happier employees, higher retention, and better overall outcomes with customer facing employees. I can't say this enough. If these programs are implemented and are improved, they should be implemented by the company and not as an option as compared with higher pay, salary. 9 times out of 10, an employee is going to choose higher pay and salary instead of having a mindfulness program. And those higher pay raises tend to not have a long lasting effect because most people will get used to the higher salary, but a constant weekly distressor for the team or whoever it is going to have long lasting impacts and recurring payments back to the company in some way, shape, or form with better overall outcomes. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your semester and stay safe and stay inside. Bye.